video to show you how to play chess. It's one of my favorite games to play. I enjoy the strategy and the thinking required to play the game. I also find each piece to be very interesting. Of course, each piece has its own individual and unique input in the game. Granted, this isn't the best quality board or chess game, but I'm not really too worried about the quality. I just enjoy playing for fun. You can usually get a chess game at your local general store, like Walmart or the dollar store, even at some local gas stations. Of course, pricing does range. You can see the 4 and 5 square. These 4 squares, this area is considered the kill zone of the game. That's basically where most of the action takes place. The material used for this board doesn't feel very expensive. It's a type of cardboard and possibly layered with a fine plastic. And you can see the pieces aren't that extravagant either. They're just basic plastic pieces. But as long as I have the right pieces, that's all that matters. You can see it's a very thin plastic. And this is a rook, or others like to call it a castle, but the chess term is rook. This is a knight. You can see it's a horse, obviously. It represents what the knights would ride in medieval times. And even though these pieces tend to mimic medieval times, this game was actually invented in India. This is the bishop. This is the king. He's one of the most, actually he is the most important piece in the game, and you can tell it's the king by the cross symbol on top. is the queen. She is the most powerful piece in the game, and you can tell it's the queen by the almost sunflower-like shape on the top, and the queen usually goes in the square that matches the color. So if you have a black queen, then you put her in a black square, and then the king would go to the opposite side of that. That way it lines up with all the other pieces. And I'm just gonna finish setting up the last pieces. They're basically just replicas of each other. The king and queen are the only ones that are individual, and this is a pawn. A pawn is probably the weakest and yet also the most volatile piece, because a pawn can kind of sneak up on you when you least expect it. And if you get your pawn all the way across to the opponent's side, you can transform that pawn into any piece that you want, which is very useful. I'm not going to bother with these pieces because I'm not actually playing a game against anyone. I'm just giving you guys an idea of how to play the game. Okay, I'm just going to place these pieces back in the box and place the cover back on. So, usually, when starting a game, you want to be decisive about which piece you want to move first. Typically, one would start with the pawn, and on the first move, a pawn can move 2 spaces forward, or 1 space, but after the first try, a pawn can only move 1 space at a time in a forward direction. It can never move backwards. A pawn, when striking a capture or kill, can only kill its opponent diagonally. A pawn cannot kill forward or backwards or side to side, and it cannot kill diagonally backwards. It can only kill diagonally moving forward. So, now that I've shown you how the pawn works, let me show you the rook. The rook has a little more freedom on the board. It can move forward and backward any amount of spaces, and it can also move left to right. Again, any amount of spaces. And it can also capture or kill a piece that is in front or behind it. A rook can sometimes sneak up on you as well, because you will forget it is there. A rook cannot capture a piece diagonally. It can only capture forward or backward or side to side. Now the knight has a bit more intricate movement. It can move 4 spaces, but only at a 90-degree angle. at a 90-degree angle. With the knight, you cannot move forward to capture a piece, and you cannot move backward or diagonally. You can only capture it at a 90-degree angle. The bishop is also a piece that has a lot of freedom on the board, but it can only move diagonally. It can move any amount of spaces it wants, but as long only if it's at a diagonal angle. And it can only capture at a diagonal angle. It cannot move forward or backward or side to side to capture another piece. Now the king, while it is the most important piece in the game, it is also one of the weakest and limited pieces. It can move in any direction that it pleases, but it can only move one space at a time. And you can use that move to possibly avert yourself from being in check or from being captured by your opponent's piece. It can also kill in any direction as well. The queen is, of course, the most powerful piece on the board. There's no rules as to where the queen can go. She moves any angle as she pleases. Of course, that doesn't mean that she can move at a 90-degree angle like the knight, but she can move side to side, forward, backwards, and diagonal at basically any length of the board that she pleases. It's usually best that you try not to have your queen killed towards the beginning of the game. If you do lose her, then you can still win, but it's best to try to keep her. Now, I also want to show you a strategy you can use with your king. When there's two spaces between the king and the rook, you can move your king 2 spaces towards the rook and place the rook on the other side of the king. And it's also best to keep the pawns in front. This is known as castling. It's a very good strategy to make it harder for your opponent to reach your king. As you can see, it could make it very difficult to put your king in check. I personally love the design of the game and all of its pieces. I usually play chess just to help myself focus or to unwind. I feel that for me it has helped me to progress better with memory and problem solving. It has been said that chess is also a good stress reliever and very good for focus. always enjoyed the wooden pieces, and I've seen glass pieces and stone, which I think are pretty neat. I used to have an all glass clear chessboard set that I would lay on my nightstand, but unfortunately those pieces were lost. Do any of you play chess? And if not, what board game do you prefer? My personal second favorite board game to play is Monopoly. I also enjoy the card game Apples to Apples. I like the fact that this sport is also easy to reassemble and disassemble. I don't have to worry really so much about breaking any pieces either, so I suppose that's also another reason to get a less expensive material.